Why, hello, all you Aaron Rodgers fans. It's time to do a double check. Anyway, we're going to look at some rational expressions today, and there's three things that we're going to do. We're going to simplify, we're going to multiply, divide, and we're going to add and subtract. I'm going to show you an example of all of them, but guys, really, we're going to do the same thing on all of them. The tough one will be adding and subtraction, adding and subtracting, dealing with fractions. If you remember, rational is a fancy word that just means fraction. So enjoy. Okay, that's what we're going to do here. We're going to look at fractions. All right, so the first example we have here, guys, all of our directions are going to say to simplify. All right, and the first thing we're always going to do is we're going to factor, if that's even possible. All right, we're going to factor. Okay, I'm going to type this one out because the key to this is when dividing, okay, we may only simplify common factors, okay? And remember, a factor are things that we multiply. I'm going to put this down on the second line here. Let's put it in red so we kind of remember that. Okay, so what things can we multiply together? All right, and those are the things that we can divide out. Okay, when I say simplify, those are the things that we can divide out. So this is not a practice on factoring. This is a practice on simplifying rational expressions. So x squared plus 8x plus 16 can be factored as x plus 4 and x plus 4. And if you don't know why that factors that way, pause the video now and work it out for yourself. I'll wait for you. All right, now that you paused it and figured it out, let's continue. Okay, and so this right here factors into x plus 4 and x plus 7. And once again, if that doesn't make sense to you, then pause the video and figure it out yourself. All right, so now what we're going to look for is we're going to look for common factors. And what it should say is in the numerator and the denominator. Okay, so hopefully you recognize that that and that are the same factors. They're the same factors. Okay, the key thing there is that they are factors. What did we multiply together? All right, and so we can only divide out common factors. And so our solution here, okay, this is equal to x plus 4 over x plus 7. All right, and we'll talk later in this class how those two technically are not the same thing. Maybe you see here what happens when x equals -4. Okay, right there and right there. And if you're not sure what I'm talking about, then again, pause the video, see if you can figure that out. All right, so that's the first example. All right, remember what we're going to do is we've simplified. So now we're going to multiply and divide. So let's look at that. Okay, so in this case, we are dividing. Now, if you remember, when we divide to make it simple and always do it the same, we're just going to change it to multiplication. All right, so let's make this 2x squared plus x minus 6 over x squared minus 1. But then we're going to multiply the reciprocal, x squared plus 2x plus 1 divided by x squared minus 4. All right, so let me type that out here because I don't think I can write this out. But remember, dividing fractions, multiply by the reciprocal of the second fraction, if you will. The divisor, I believe. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to what we did before and let's factor. All right, and so we're going to factor this. So this is 2x plus 3 and x minus 2. No, I got that backwards. I apologize. Let's fix that. So 2 x minus 3 and x plus 2, and we're going to factor that into x minus 1 and x plus 1, and we're going to factor this into x plus 1 and x plus 1 and x minus 2 and x plus 2. And again, just like before, we're going to divide out common factors, ones that are in the numerator and the denominator. So notice that x plus 2 is in both places. X plus 1 is in both places. And I don't see anything else. So let's simplify this to 2x minus 3 times x plus 1 all over x minus 1, x minus 2. Okay, so for our last example here, we're going to again simplify, but this time we're going to add and subtract. And so we've got a little bit more to do here. We're still going to start out by factoring. Notice the numerators don't factor. So that's going to make this example a little bit easier. So let's go ahead and factor the denominator. So notice that's x plus 2 and x plus 2. All right, and then minus 2 over, and that'll be x minus 2 and x plus 2. All right, and so you'll notice that we have some factors here, right? And we need what's known as the LCD. So let's take a trip down memory lane, and let's look at how do we find the LCD. Okay, so let's take the least common denominator of 24 and 36. Well, what multiplies together to give us 24? Remember, we're going to go 8 and 3 in essence of time. This is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. Okay, well, 36, we all know is 9 and 4, and 3 and 3, and 2 and 2. So if these were in our denominators, 24 and 36, what would be the least common denominator that we would use for our fractions? So let's say we have something over 24 minus something over 36, and what common denominator do we want to put here? All right, so what we have is we have 3 2's that will cover those 2 2's. So we're going to put in here 2 times 2 times 2. And these 2 3's right here will cover that 1 3. So we're going to put 3 times 3. So our denominator here, that would equal 72. That's the smallest denominator that you can multiply by something to get both 24 times 3 and 36 times 2. So remember, we're going to multiply the numerator here by 3 and the numerator of the red one by 2. And hopefully that makes sense and jogs your memory. So let's come back here. All right, and so now what we have here are LCD. Those 2x plus 2's, that's like the multiple 3's or the multiple 2's, will cover this one right here. So at LCD, we have to have x plus 2, x plus 2. If that doesn't make sense, go back and look at what we just did. All right, but we need an x minus 2 also, so that's going to be here. So our LCD, we're not going to multiply that out. That'd be pretty taxing. So we're just going to leave it like this. So let's work down. Okay, and here's our LCD. All right, there's our LCD. So we have x plus 2, x plus 2, and x minus 2. All right, and so this needs an x minus 2, so we have to multiply x minus 2 here. Notice that what I have here now matches our LCD, and so we have 6x minus 12. All right, and what's missing from the right side is another x plus 2. And so now that makes us have the same denominator in both. Now, be careful here. This is minus 2x minus 4. If you don't understand where that comes from, please pause the video and double check it. I'll give you a quick overview. That's minus 2 times x and minus 2 times 2. Okay, again, if you don't understand that, pause the video and let's come back to it. All right, so let's simplify our numerator. So we now have 4x minus 16 minus 12 minus 4 is minus 16 all over x plus 2 if you'd like. We can write that as squared x minus 2. And for what I consider, we're going to leave it like this. Now, you may, all right, I'm going to show you something that isn't really going to pan out for us this time. But you may want to factor that numerator. So that numerator is 4 times x minus 4. And can we divide anything out now? X plus 2 quantity squared and x minus 2. Well, this is 4, and these are both 2, so those aren't the same, so we can't divide anything out. All right, guys, that's a very, very fast simplifying rational expressions. If you have any questions, we'll talk about them in class. Hey, thanks for watching. We'll see you then.